Tire on Eala. Welcome back to Court Eva Tennis, home of the biggest serves and even bigger stories in the world of tennis. Today, we're not just talking about a match or a tournament, we're witnessing a seismic shift in the history of professional sport. This is a partnership so massive, so unexpected, and so deeply personal that it has sent shockwaves from the gilded boardrooms of LVMH in the heart of Paris all the way to the sun-baked hard courts of Manila. So grab your popcorn, turn off your notifications and settle in, because the Philippine tennis queen has just received one of the most extraordinary forms of backing the sport has ever seen. You are the architect of the world's most powerful luxury empire, with iconic brands like Louis Vuitton, Dior, Moët & Chandon, Tiffany & Company, Bulgari, and Givenchy in your portfolio, along with more than 70 other legendary names. Your sportswear brand has just signed Filipino tennis sensation Eala to a massive 3-year deal. You've helped fund the Paris Olympics, backed Formula One, and even dressed Lion Marchand in Louis Vuitton gold. Every decision you make is calculated, precise, and historic. And then one day, your assistant places a handwritten letter on your desk from a 20-year-old girl in the Philippines, and in that moment, something shifts deep inside the wolf in Kashmir himself. Bernard Arnault, the most powerful man in the global luxury universe, is no longer just watching Eala, he is all in on her. That is the story we are telling today, and it is every bit as cinematic as it sounds. Let's set the scene properly, because context is everything. The year is 2026, and the WTA Tour is in the middle of one of its most competitive and unpredictable seasons in recent memory. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka is a relentless force, having just defended her title at the Miami Open in a ferocious final against Coco Gauff, while Iga Swiatek, once seemingly untouchable, has slipped to world number 4. And right in the middle of this chaos, a 20-year-old Filipino with a forehand that can rearrange the furniture has been quietly and relentlessly climbing the mountain. Her name is Alexandra Eala, and this year she has been nothing short of a revelation. The numbers tell a story no screenwriter could invent. Heading into the 2026 Miami Open, Eala reached a career-high ranking of world number 29, making her the highest-ranked Filipino player in the history of the WTA Tour. Let that sink in, not just of her generation, not just of the modern era, but ever. And she didn't arrive here by accident or luck. She earned it by defeating top players tournament after tournament, rising from outside the top 100 just over a year ago into a position that now demands the world's attention. From that point on, she was no longer just a rising prospect, she was being spoken about in the same breath as Grand Slam champions. Eala's 2026 season began to read like a highlight reel no one could stop watching. She opened the year with a stunning run at the Auckland Open, reaching the semifinals in both singles and doubles, then pushed deep into the Abu Dhabi Open before storming into the quarterfinals of the Dubai Championships. In Dubai, she delivered a statement performance by dismantling Jasmine Paolini, then a top 10 player 6-1, 7-6, showcasing a level of controlled aggression that forced the entire tennis world to take notice. At Indian Wells, she survived a grueling 3-set battle against Diana Yastremska, continuing her growing reputation for pushing elite opponents to their limits. And then came the drama of the Miami Open, a tournament that proved, depending on your perspective, either a triumph of resilience or a brutal reminder of how unforgiving professional tennis can be. Seeded 31st and carrying the weight of an entire nation's expectations, Eala entered the draw after a first-round bye and immediately faced a gauntlet. She outlasted Laura Siegemund in a staggering 3-hour and 20-minute battle, the longest match of her career to date. 3 hours and 20 minutes, that's not just tennis, that's war. She followed it up with a composed third-round victory over Magda Linette, winning 6-3, 7-6 to book her place in the round of 16, surviving the Shark Tank and reaching the second week of a WTA 1000 event at the very stage of her breakthrough a year earlier. But then she ran into Karolina Muchova. The Czech assassin, fresh off her title run at the Qatar Open, needed just 60 minutes to dismantle Isla 6-0, 6-2, one of those scorelines that tells a brutally simple story. It marked Isla's 12th consecutive loss against Czech opponents, a statistic her coaching team, led by Joan Bosch, will no doubt have circled in red heading into the clay season. For many players her age, that kind of defeat on one of the biggest stages would be enough to shatter momentum. The rankings certainly didn't show mercy. From a career-high number 29, Isla dropped 16 places to number 45 inches the March 30th rankings, and then slipped again to number 46 by April 6th, losing 270 points, the harsh mathematical cost of not replicating a semi-final run that once made her a household name across Southeast Asia. But here's what her rivals are starting to understand, and what Bernard Arnault seemed to recognize long before anyone else. Eala does not break. She bends, recalibrates, learns, and then comes back stronger. She comes back harder. After her Miami exit, when a WD interviewer asked Eala how she prepares for players who are physically bigger and stronger, her answer stopped people in their tracks. She said quietly, with the calm certainty of someone who has done the work, "You could argue that everything I do is to prepare myself for those players. I'm still getting stronger, still becoming more powerful, but I believe I have other strengths too. Not just power, different layers to my game." And there it is. That one sentence explains why the tennis world is so captivated by her. She is not a one-trick phenomenon. She is an unfolding masterpiece. And Bernard Arnault knows a masterpiece when he sees one. Because this is where the story takes an extraordinary turn. In the aftermath of Miami, Eala did something almost radical in the age of instant messages and viral posts. She picked up a pen and wrote a handwritten letter. Old school, deliberate, and deeply personal. According to sources, she addressed it to Arnault, thanking him for his long-standing appreciation of sport and sharing her vision not just for her own career, but for Philippine 18 tennis, Asian tennis, and the future of the women's game globally. It wasn't a pitch, it wasn't a calculated sponsorship request, it was a genuine expression of gratitude, purpose, and ambition from a young athlete who plays for something far bigger than herself. She plays tennis the same way she lives her life, with complete conviction. That handwritten letter made its way to Paris and landed on the desk of Bernard Arnault. And then something happened that almost never happens to the man known as the Wolf in Kashmir. He was moved. Genuinely and visibly. Insiders at LVMH describe Arnault as a figure of cold precision, a strategist for whom sentiment is usually a distraction, a man who once told the Harvard Business Review that mastering the paradox of star brands is both rare and incredibly difficult. He built his empire on the belief that true luxury is not about accessibility, but aspiration. And yet, when he read Eala's handwritten words, something clicked, something no spreadsheet or market analysis could have predicted. Her resilience, he reportedly said, didn't just move scoreboards, it moved hearts. And in a world where his brands thrive on emotion, on making people feel that owning a piece of luxury is owning a piece of something timeless, he recognized in Eala the very essence of what he had spent decades building. He saw the rare spark, the kind that cannot be taught, manufactured, or replicated, a global legacy in the making, wrapped in the blue, red, and white of the Philippine flag. And so he made a decision that the entire tennis world is still trying to process. Bernard Arnault, the architect of the most powerful luxury empire in history, would personally back every aspect of Eala's journey. What makes this even more extraordinary is that this backing isn't coming through a brand activation or a marketing campaign, it's personal. Bernard Arnault is not placing a logo on Eala's sleeve or signing her for a perfume shoot. This is the full, unrestricted financial force of one of the world's most powerful figures, clearing every obstacle from the path of a 20-year-old from Manila so she can focus on what she was born to do. According to insiders, the support package is everything money can buy in professional tennis and more. Elite, round-the-clock access to the Rafa Nadal Academy, where Eala has trained since 2018, a fully customized team of physiotherapists, sports psychologists, nutritionists, and tactical analysts built entirely around her game, and even cutting-edge, custom-engineered racket and equipment development that rivals the precision of Formula One teams. There are no financial pressures, no compromises, no worrying about travel costs between tournaments like Stuttgart and Madrid, just tennis. This level of personal backing is unprecedented. The sport has seen wealthy families fund careers, governments build national programs, and corporations sign multi-million-dollar endorsement deals. But what Arnault is doing exists in an entirely different category. He isn't buying into a brand, he's investing in a human being. And that distinction is everything. To understand why, you only have to look at LVMH's recent push into global sports. Their reported €150 million investment in the Paris 2024 Olympics was widely seen as a masterclass in brand integration, with Louis Vuitton even designing iconic trunks to carry the Olympic medals, blending heritage, prestige, and global spectacle in a way only LVMH can. At the Paris 2024 Olympics, the presence of LVMH was impossible to ignore. Louis Vuitton crafted the iconic trunks for the Olympic torch, Chaumet designed the medals, he dressed the French team for the opening ceremony, and Sephora sponsored the torch relay, while Celine Dion delivered a breathtaking performance in head-to-toe Dior. The LVMH footprint was so dominant that fellow sponsors reportedly complained because when Bernard Arnault shows up, he doesn't just participate, he defines the moment. And now, the business side of Eala's rise is accelerating just as dramatically. Strong rumors within the sports marketing world suggest a landmark multi-million-dollar global deal with a major luxury watch brand is nearing completion, a move that would instantly elevate her into the elite financial tier of the highest-earning female athletes on the planet. If confirmed, it would cement her status not just as a rising tennis star, but as a true global brand and athlete who embodies authenticity, aspiration, and power all at once. And beyond the business, the cultural impact of what Eala represents is impossible to overstate. In the Philippines, a nation passionately devoted to basketball, fiercely proud of its boxing champions, and rich in sporting tradition, her emergence as a homegrown tennis star signals something far bigger than wins and rankings. It marks the arrival of a new kind of sporting icon. Operating at the absolute highest level of the WTA Tour is transformative in ways that reach far beyond sport. Tennis courts are being built in communities that never had them, junior programs are launching where none existed decades ago, and children who had never held a racket are now watching Eala's matches with their parents, asking to try. She is rewriting what is possible for the next generation of Filipino athletes in a sport that was never traditionally theirs to dominate. And when stories like her penthouse surprise reach those communities, when a young Filipino girl who conquered Wimbledon's junior title, trained in Spain, and